Alright, so today I beat the TDS Halloween event.
And the pain I had to suffer through.
It all started when I was doing Act 1 in sometime in October, and well, it's safe to say I struggled in it. In the beginning, narrator just kind of yaps about the show, which is very interesting, but I don't really read it. And then we got a cutscene where Umbra just kind of goes insane. But then, on the first wave, there are only just pumpkins. But on wave 3, there were overgrowths, who were slower than the pumpkins, but they were tankier. On wave 5, there were ghosts, which got taken out by our wardens. And on wave 7, there were scarecrows, which were really fast and quite tanky for the beginning. However, the poison and the wardens kinda just killed them. On the next wave, we had our first boss, which was a swamper, but he was quite easy to defeat, as he couldn't even get halfway to the exit. On wave 9, narrator talked about some newfound power, which I didn't really care about, as all I cared about was beating Act 1, so screw you, narrator. On this wave, there were a ton of enemies, including 4 mini-bosses, which were literally just swampers, but it was still quite difficult to defeat them all. And then we got a cutscene where I don't even know what happened. At least the text explains it. On wave 9, there were much more enemies and a bunch more mini-bosses. However, there were citizen plushes, which were really fast, but they still couldn't get past our defenses. Barely. And wave 11 was just wave 11. Interestingly, there was another mini-boss on wave 13. The boss came by the name of Cobalt Guard. He was easy, but he had 80% defense, which made him really difficult to beat. And since there was 3 of them, they pushed kinda far, but not that far. Also, I forgot to mention that Knights are in this, and they're stupidly annoying with their stupid stun. Wave 15 had nothing special, so we didn't really worry about it. And whilst narrator was giving us some description about Executioner Plush, well, he arrived himself. And since he was a bit scared, he had to use his friends to defend him. And by friends, I mean little other monsters. Now, you'd think this boss was easy because it has 20k HP compared to the other bosses. But you would be wrong, but also not wrong. But for us, he was quite the challenge, as he almost got there, but we still managed to defeat him. Overall, Act 1 was quite easy, and at least I enjoyed it, unlike... This act was a huge step up from Act 1 to Act 2. It felt harder to the point that I couldn't even beat it with randoms. And since I was tired of losing, I proceeded to use a solo strat for Act 2. Was it worth it me trying to beat Act 2 with a solo strat? No, I wouldn't really say so, but it still worked out in the end either way. If you're wondering, I used the Umbra's Retribution strat, which was very difficult to pull off, but it worked out. In this act, there were many newer enemies like skeletons, mummies, giant skeletons, witches, etc. Although they weren't that much of a problem. Wave 1 and 2, there were just a lot of pumpkins and also a bit of skeletons. For the first 2 waves, I had to place a level 2 ace pilot and 2 level 0 soldiers, and then upgrade the second soldier to level 2. And then I had to place 2 more soldiers and make sure all of the soldiers were on level 2. And then I had to do a bit more stuff until I got to wave 7, where I had to do way more stuff. First, I had to upgrade the first ace pilot to level 3, and then do the same to the ace pilot at the back, which costed quite a lot. But then I had to place 2 more ace pilots that had to be level 3, which costed even more. But then I had to get commander level 2, minigunner, and then spam level 3 ace pilots. Then it was the easy part. And after watching a cutscene where I don't even know what the hell happens, I got refunded all of my money just like in Act 1. And they weren't wrong, the steps were actually quite easy. The first step was to place a level 3 DJ booth, which was really easy and it barely costed me anything. And then I had to place 2 level 5 ace pilots, which wasn't that hard, but it was quite expensive. Followed by a level 2 minigunner, and then followed by a commander, unfortunately to level 1 because I didn't have enough. And then I had to spam level 2 minigunners, even though it says level 3, but level 2 works way better. Also, I forgot to mention that on this wave, Frankenstein comes out, and he's not very nice in the next 2 waves. He's actually really annoying. So after killing the Frank in wave 11, it became wave 12, where there's 2 of them, although the minigunner spam kind of destroyed them. And on wave 13, nothing really challenging happened. Although I did start spamming level 3 ace pilots, even though it doesn't say that in this strat, but I was following the video and not the document. And then I started getting level 3 minigunners. And unfortunately in wave 14 nothing really fun happened, because the enemies couldn't even get through the 6th turn. And after getting level 4 DJ, the demon came out. And to be honest, he kinda got shredded once he got in the view of the minigunners. Yeah. Although he did release some demon sins when he died, and they're not really that tanky, but they are quite fast. Although apparently there's 2 versions of them, which I didn't really know about. Anyways, after killing the enemy spam, on wave 16 there were 2 demons. Wow, what a shocker. Although it was followed up by a hidden Frank, which for some reason enemies can just decide to be hidden whenever they want to, and I don't know why, but oh well. On wave 17 there were 2 new enemies, which were the Hallow Guard and the Werewolf. The Hallow Guards were just tanky with their like 2000 health, plus a 60% defense, and the Werewolf was really tanky with its 6000 health, and it's also very fast. But he did die on the 5th turn, so he wasn't that big of a problem. And on late wave 18, the Reaper came out, and well, yeah, again. Which made me realize that this strat is actually really OP, at least on the 2nd bit. On the 1st bit, it's actually quite challenging. Anyways, on wave 19, nothing happened at all. I just spammed level 3 minigunners and they did the job. And then it was 5:30. It was time for the Jacobot. Now usually Jacobot would get stuck around one of the turns, but for me he didn't. And then after like 4 minutes, I beat him. I destroyed him, I made him suffer with all of the pain I had to suffer through in Act 2. Alright, how do I say this? This act basically ruined this entire event. I don't mean any hate to the developers, but that's just how it feels to me. Let me tell you why this feels like a really horrible act. First of all, on release, this was probably the most impossible event ever. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience it because it came out at, well, this time for me. Then, they nerfed it. They nerfed it to the point that it was easy to do it solo, without any exclusive towers or even hardcore towers. Also, the lore kind of just disappeared in this act. And sadly, I don't know why Narrator just decided to go against us for no reason whatsoever. I mean, it was quite obvious, but like, I just want to know like, why he's evil and all of that, you know. But anyways, the map itself was the dock map. It was basically a circle, but it had paths, so you could at least know where the enemies would come from. And also, you could buy barricades, which were pretty much pointless as they just grouped up enemies and kind of basically made it harder. Unless you had towers that did splash damage, which in that case it would probably be better for you to buy them. And surprisingly, there's actually no hidden enemies, which is very uncommon for these types of events. First, I placed a level 2 minigun as I couldn't really afford an accelerator. And yes, they did place a necromancer. Do not ask me why, these were randoms. And then I also placed a DJ, and one of my randoms placed a commander and an accelerator. Well, it wasn't the same person who placed both of them, but you know, you get the first couple of waves are supposed to be easy, and they are. Although on wave 3, the knights are really annoying, because if they stun your accelerator, then you're pretty much guaranteed to leak. Around wave 6, I started preparing for flying enemies, who come out at wave 8. The flying enemies were voodoo dolls, not the witches. And thankfully, the voodoo dolls don't really do much except just fly into your base and kill you. And I'm not gonna take all of the credit for myself. The randoms also place an engineer and a golden soldier, which both have flying detection, so that's cool. And on wave 10, we see a familiar face. Possibly a familiar face from Act 1, possibly. Either way, he got shredded. And on wave 11, I see a face that I will always hate, no matter what. For some reason, these guys are really tanky and they also have defense. Like, why? They're already tanky enough. But they just had to make them tankier. These guys are annoying because most of the time you lose to them only. You lose because of them. And then on the next wave, we get a very original name guy. His name is totally not from wave 1. That has just been reused. And on wave 13, Executioner comes out again. And then on the final wave, which is wave 14, he comes out again. But however, there's 2 bosses on this wave. But anyways, the way you kill these bosses is using the spotlights. And, well, the spotlights feel quite buggy sometimes, at least to me. Now, these things do a lot of damage. Also, I forgot to mention what the bosses do. Well, the bosses literally just stun and they can delete your towers. By that, I mean they can literally oof your towers. But thankfully, I beat the event before it was too difficult, so I kind of destroyed these hands and they didn't really get to kill all of our towers. Now, overall, I think you should subscribe because this video actually took quite a while to make. Overall, in my honest opinion, I think this event is a B tier. It's not that bad, but it definitely gets ruined by Act 3. That's all I'm gonna say.